What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. So in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about how I first knew that I had a math learning disability long before I was officially diagnosed, and kind of what are some things to look for if you're not already diagnosed, or if you're a parent watching and you're wondering if your child might possibly have dyscalculia. What are some signs to look for? So that's what we're going to be talking about today, so let's get started. Okay, first off, I want to say right off the bat, I am not a professional. I am not anyone who is capable of providing a diagnosis. That is not what I do. I'm a personal trainer and I'm an engineering student. I am not the person who can provide you with a diagnosis or who can do anything like that for you. I just wanted to share my experience, some early warning signs that I noticed as a child. I was not officially diagnosed with dyscalculia until I was 22, but I can remember as far back as like second grade, there was a lot of really obvious signs that were overlooked. So I just want to kind of share my experience with you guys. And again, I am in no way trying to diagnose anybody or offering a diagnosis. These are just some things that I noticed that you can look out for either in yourself or in your child. So yeah, I did really well in first grade. I really don't remember struggling much at all. It wasn't until second grade that I really felt like I didn't feel comfortable doing homework. I don't remember anything vividly about math until third grade. That's when everything really started going south, so to speak. I vividly remember third grade. We used to get these really long sheets of white paper, and it was folded like kind of weird, I don't know, but it was folded into like different sections, and we would get them every Monday, and every day of the week we would do a different little section, like all week. And then over the weekend there was a little section on the back. It wasn't that big, it was just like a little, you know, maybe like 7 or 10 problems, if that. And that was our homework. We had to turn in on Monday, then we get a new one, and it was like, you know, either a new chapter or a new section or whatever. And I just remember feeling so much dread over that white piece of paper. I remember it vividly. Like, I'm 26 years old now. I remember vividly being 8 years old, dreading this long sheet of white paper every Monday. I hated it, I hated it, I hated it. And the biggest warning sign that was neglected by everybody was that I never did the homework. I never even did the in-class work. Somehow no one ever caught it. No one at home ever caught it. The teacher never really caught it. You know, when report cards would come out, I would have like A, B, and then math, just F. Every single time, F. No one questioned it. It was very strange to me that, you know, no one said anything. Like, no one even said like, why don't you understand it, or do you need help with something? It was very weird to me, but I just remember that vividly, that anxiety and that dread. I never wanted to go to school on Mondays. So again, if you're a parent watching this, that might be a sign possibly for your child. You know, if they're getting new assignments on a certain day of the week, and if that day of the week they're never comfortable going to school, they always have anxiety, that could potentially be something that you might want to look out for, maybe ask a professional about. That was huge for me. I hated Mondays because I knew that that meant that long white sheet of paper was coming, and it meant math. And it just gave me so much anxiety, and I hated it. And I don't even remember what the concepts were. I don't know. I don't remember what you learned in third grade, but I just remember I never did any of those assignments, and I don't know what any of it was. I could not tell you. By the time I got to fourth grade, so the way our classes were set up was your first class of the day was your homeroom class, but that was also a specific subject. So for me, it was math, and I hated it. I always wanted to go to school late, you know, because I thought if I go to school late and I bypass that class altogether, the rest of the day is smooth sailing, you know? Like, I thought I could just figure out a way every single day to somehow go late and I can skip it, problem solved. Obviously that doesn't work. You know, I just hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I hated math. I never felt comfortable around math. I never felt comfortable enough to really ask any questions. I just knew that there was like a mental block against math, and I just, you know, always felt like I didn't want to learn it. I didn't want to try to learn it. I never wanted to ask the teacher, hey, I don't understand this. Can you show me this? I never wanted to do that. I just hated it. Those were the biggest like early signs. When I got to 5th grade, my math class was like kind of in the middle of the day, and I knew there was no way around that. So I hated school altogether, and I did eventually end up switching to cyber school, which helped a lot because all of a sudden I wasn't tied to that schedule, you know, of having to do math at a certain time, a certain day, whatever. And that helped me so much more, being able to kind of do it at my own pace. I still didn't do it or do it that well. You know, I would do maybe a few assignments here and there. And for the most part, I just kept getting F's. Like, no one questioned it. No one brought it up. No one, you know, they just thought, well, she just doesn't like math. Like, we won't, you know, whatever. It's not a big deal. We won't make her do it. And it's like, no, like there was a much bigger problem and no one caught it. So I somehow managed to weasel my way through high school. I think I ended up getting maybe a C or a D in math, and I was able to get my high school diploma, thank God. And it wasn't till I got to college that I realized, okay, this is a much bigger problem. So if you have not seen any of my other previous videos, I am an engineering student. I have my associate's degree in engineering technology, and I plan on getting my bachelor's in mechanical engineering. This is something I wanted to do my whole entire life, despite my horrible math skills. I knew I wanted to be an engineer. I knew that that was the only path for me. And once I got to college, I realized, okay, now is the time that you really have to pull it together. Because if you want to be an engineer, you're gonna have to do a lot of math, you're gonna have to do a lot of difficult math, and you're gonna have to do a lot of science, which also includes math, like physics, chemistry, things like that. So the first college I went to was a community college. I did not do well at all in math again. At this point, I was still undiagnosed. I really didn't know what was going on or why. I just knew that there was some reason that I didn't feel comfortable with math. And I ended up transferring to a major university. Didn't do well there either. Went back to community college. By this point was when I really started to get very, very frustrated, because at that particular community college, they would not let you take any of their engineering courses until you took Calculus 1 first. This was a very, very frustrating ordeal to deal with, and I'll get to why in a minute. But I just felt like nobody was helping me. You know, the advisors, they just kept brushing me off. They just kept saying, you're just bad at math. I had one advisor literally tell me to my face, change your major, like you'll never be an engineer. I was so devastated, I was so upset, but I wasn't gonna let that stop me, because I'm a very determined, hard-headed, stubborn person. And I was like, that's just one person's opinion. That's not the, you know, the truth. I can figure this out. So I did eventually end up doing a ton of research, trying to figure out whatever I could, you know, in terms of why can I not learn math? Like I would Google, like, why can't I learn math? And I eventually, you know, stumbled upon learning disabilities, and I thought I might have that. And I ended up going to get tested, and sure enough, they said, yeah, you have a learning disability. I was 22 at the time. And they said, you know, no one's ever mentioned this to you before? And I was like, no. And but once I knew what it was, I felt so much better, because I thought, okay, now I have answers. Now I know what's going on. And then it all started to click. So the other signs, like outside of school, in terms of things to look out for, I never struggled, and I know some people do, I never struggled with like left and right. I never struggled with telling time, but I tell time in like a very strange way if I'm looking at the clock. So I don't have the ability to say like it's 2:20. Like I don't think about it like that. I think about, okay, the shorthand is at the 2, the longhand is, okay, so 6 is 30, then I would count back in increments of 5 until I would get, you know, okay, 25, 20. And I would say, okay, the longhand is on the 4, so it's 2:20. That might not make any sense to anybody else, but I'm saying it's a sign, or could potentially be a sign. It was a sign for me that I don't tell time in a traditional way. I was reading the clock in a way that probably doesn't make sense to a lot of other people, but that was how I knew how to read it. And another sign that I thought was interesting is that there are some numbers that I cannot remember to save my life. Like memorizing formulas. I really struggled with algebra for that reason. I struggled with times tables. To this day, I don't know my times tables. I don't know them. I will never know them. This is why we have calculators. I'll never know them. But I can like hyper fixate on other numbers and remember them. So I know my debit card number, my credit card number, my account number, my routing number. I have all of those completely memorized. I know them off the top of my head. And that might not be that uncommon, but when you have a learning disability, it's so strange, like what your brain hangs on to and what it refuses to hang on to. It's so weird to me. So that could potentially be something to look out for. You know, if you're able to memorize certain things with no problem, but you can't remember other things no matter how hard you try, you know, that imbalance there could be something. Again, I'm not a professional. I'm not diagnosing anybody. I'm just telling you what to look out for. But I'm trying to think what else. I am exceptionally good with directions. And again, this is one of those things I know a lot of people struggle with. A lot of people with dyscalculia, they can't figure out directions. They struggle with, like I said, left and right, you know, figuring out their way around town. It just might not make sense to them. It is something that I hyper fixate on. Like I can go deep into a neighborhood for the very first time, and if someone says, okay, find your way back home, I can do it, like no problem. I don't know why. I've always thought that was weird that I can do that so well. But like I said, there were other things I don't remember at all. So again, that really strange imbalance. That's pretty much it in terms of the signs that I noticed. Another one, actually, I just remembered, is not being able to judge distance. And I laugh because I somehow miraculously was able to parallel park once in my entire life, and that was the day that I got my driver's license. I have never had to and never will parallel park ever again in my entire life. I will actively avoid any place where I have to parallel park. I don't care. I have not parallel parked in 10 years, and I don't plan on doing it at all for the next 50 years. So yeah, that is one thing. I cannot judge distance at all. The whole, you know, social distancing thing with, you know, stay 6 feet apart. I have no idea what the concept of 6 feet is. I could not tell you. If someone said like, hey, how far am I sitting from the camera right now? I have no idea. 3 feet, 4 feet, even though it's probably closer to maybe 2.5, 2 feet. I have no idea. I could not tell you. I genuinely could not tell you. I have no idea. And somehow, you know, I was able to get mostly, you know, like halfway through my college education without, you know, having to use any of these things. Thank God. I did take my calculus classes already. I'm currently taking differential equations. None of this has been an issue so far. I can't say that it won't be at some point, but I was able to get through. So if I can get through college without knowing a lot of this stuff, you can too. But yeah, those are pretty much it. Those are the most glaringly obvious warning signs. I'm really good at estimating time. Like I can't judge distance, but I can judge time. So if I say I'm gonna set a timer for 15 minutes, like right around like the 13 or 14 minute mark, I know like, oh, it's getting close. It's getting close to 15 minutes. And again, I don't know where that stems from, like why I'm so good at certain things and then terrible at other things. Like certain other things are just like a lost cause no matter what. So again, like I said, that weird imbalance there is something I've noticed over the years. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of things that I noticed. Like I said, this video is just me sharing my experience with you guys. I'm not diagnosing anybody. Please see a professional if you think that you might have dyscalculia or any other type of learning disability. They are the only ones who can give you a formal diagnosis. You know, start with maybe your PCP or maybe a therapist or somebody at your school. Any one of them could probably point you in the right direction of who you would need to see to get a formal diagnosis if you choose to do so. In terms of being in college and all of that, the accommodations have helped me a ton. More so before the pandemic, because a lot of the accommodations that I qualify for were like a quiet testing area and recording lectures. that stuff doesn't really apply now because my classes are online. So we have like either a Zoom meeting that's automatically being recorded by the professor, or we have like pre-recorded videos. You know, I'm at home, so I don't need a quiet testing place. I mean, I could still go to campus and request a room if they, you know, wanted to give me one, they could. But, you know, I live alone, so I don't have to worry about that. So in terms of accommodations, that's pretty much all I get. But it does help. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of share my experience with you guys and kind of let you guys know how I first noticed things and possibly some things to look out for if you or someone you know is currently going through this and is undiagnosed. So hopefully this helped somebody out there. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a ton. I really do appreciate it. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.